Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai Radha Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Finish. Radha Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Hare Krishna. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We're continuing with our reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, how we achieve this good fortune. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He thought it up, he did it, and now we're doing it. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. We're taking up at Madhya Lila, chapter 19, the Lord instructs Srila Rupa Goswami. And 165 is our verse. As long as there is not the slightest fragrance of pure love of Krishna, which is the perfect medicinal herb for controlling Lord Krishna within the heart, the opulences of the material perfections known as the siddhis, the Brahminical perfections, satya, shama, titiksha, and so on, the trance of the yogis, and the mystic bliss of Brahman all seem wonderful for men. What meter is that? No. Siddhi, Kadit, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Bhaktagami Bhavatume Vidhasi. Sing it, Amrita. Jami Jayat Satya Dharma Samadhi Ramanando Guru Apicha Makara Devatava Yavat Premna Madhuri Puvashikara Siddhaushadinam Gando Pyantakarana Sarani. Do the last line again. See if you can get it.
Sarani panthatam na prayati
Gandopyanta karana sarani patatam na praya. We better invest earlier in the long vowel. Try it again. Go ahead.
Gandhopyantakarana sarani panthatam.
I think hold the I on sarani. Try holding it there extra.
Gandhopyantakarana sarani panthatam
That works.
Prayati.
We're all in on the I. Shall we try it again?
Yes.
Gandopyantakarana sarani pantatana prayati. From the top. Ridha siddhi raja vijayita satya dharma samadhir Brahmanando guru api chamatkara yat yevatavad yavat prem namadhu ripuvashikara siddhoshadhinam Gandopyantakarana sarani panhatana prayati. One more time at the last. Gandopyantakarana sarani panhatana prayati. This is a keeper. This verse is fantastic. As long as there is not the slightest fragrance of pure love of Krishna, which is the perfect medicinal herb for controlling Lord Krishna within the heart, the opulences of the material perfections known as the siddhis, the Brahminical perfections, satya, shama, titiksha, and so on, the trance of the yogis and the monistic bliss of Brahman all seem wonderful for men. Out of 10.
10. 11.
11. Outside? 11, 12, 15. Purport. In India, when you get a fan, they turn it all the way up and then they break off the knob, then you have on or off. That goes for volume too. No, you can turn it down. There are, just not all the way, there are different types of perfections known as siddhi vraja, and also the perfection, and turn this down too, please. There are different types of perfections known as siddhi vraja, and also the perfections of achieving Brahminical qualifications, yogic trance, and merging into the Supreme. All these material perfections are certainly very attractive for a mundane person, but their brilliance exists only as long as one does not take to devotional service. Devotional service can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller of all universal affairs. The 5 rasas in the transcendental world are practiced by the inhabitants of Goloka Vrindavan in neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. All these please the Lord so much that he is controlled by the devotees. For instance, Mother Jashoda was so advanced in devotional service that Krishna agreed to be controlled by her stick. In other words, the 5 principal mellows are so great and glorious that they are able to control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the material world, however, the so-called siddhis or perfections manifest their brightness only as long as one is not interested in devotional service. In other words, the perfection of the karmis, jnanis, yogis, and others remains attractive only as long as one does not come to the point of devotional service which is so great and significant that it can control the Supreme Controller, Krishna. That's from the Lalita Madhava. What a verse. When one is situated in pure devotional service, he develops love of Godhead. Therefore, let me describe some of the symptoms of pure devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita 1855, it is said, Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yashchasmi tatvataha. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in truth unless he takes to devotional service. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma nyanavratam anukulyena krishnanu shilana bhaktir uttama. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruit of action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. This verse is also found in Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. As we can understand from the Bhagavad Gita 934 and 1865, the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants everyone to think of Him always. Manmana bhava madbhakta. Everyone should become His devotee, not the devotee of a demigod. Everyone should engage in His devotional service, including archan, deity worship in the temple. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Everyone should offer obeisances from moment to moment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are the desires of the Supreme Lord. And one who fulfills his desires favorably is actually a pure devotee. Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto Him, and devotional service means preaching this gospel all over the world. The Lord says openly in the Bhagavad Gita, Nacha tasman manusheshu kashin me priyakritama. One who preaches the gospel of the Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of all is most dear to Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Lord so that human society can be perfectly organized from all angles of vision, politically, socially, economically, philosophically, and religiously. From any point of view, human society can be reformed by the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, one who spreads this philosophy of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of all Krishna conditioned souls in the universe is perfect in pure devotional service. The criterion is that a devotee must know what Krishna wants him to do. This understanding can be achieved through the medium of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami advises Adau Guruvashrayam. One who is serious in wanting to render pure devotional service to the Lord must take shelter of a spiritual master who comes in the disciplic succession from Krishna. Evam parampara praptam imam rajasheo vidu. Without accepting a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession, one cannot find out the real purpose of devotional service. Therefore, one has to accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and agree to be directed by him. The first business of a pure devotee is to satisfy his spiritual master, whose only business is to spread Krishna consciousness. And if one can satisfy the spiritual master, Krishna is automatically satisfied. Yasya prasada bhagava prasada. This is the success of devotional service. This is the meaning of the word anukulyena. That is, favorable devotional service to the Lord. A pure devotee has no plans other than those for the Lord's service. He is not interested in attaining success in mundane activities. He simply wants success in the progress of devotional service. For a devotee, there cannot be worship of others or demigod worship. A pure devotee does not engage himself in such pseudo-devotional service. He is interested only in satisfying Krishna. If one lives only for the satisfaction of Krishna, it does not matter whether he belongs to this order of life or that order of life. One's only business should be to satisfy Krishna. This process is completely manifest in the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement. It has been actually proved that the entire world can accept devotional service without failure. One simply has to follow the instructions of the representative of Krishna. Text 168. A pure devotee must not cherish any desire other than to serve Krishna. He should not offer worship to the demigods or to mundane personalities. He should not cultivate artificial knowledge, which is devoid of Krishna consciousness, and he should not engage himself in anything other than Krishna conscious activities. One must engage all one's purified senses in the service of the Lord. This is the favorable execution of Krishna conscious activities. 169. These activities are called Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. If one renders such pure devotional service, he develops his original love for Krishna in due course of time. In Vedic literatures like the Pancharatras and Srimad Bhagavatam, these symptoms are described. One has to develop his devotional service under the directions of a pure devotee, the spiritual master, and in accordance with the Vedic directions given in the Pancharatra and Bhagavata systems. The Pancharatra system includes methods of temple worship And the Bhagavat system includes the spreading of Krishna consciousness philosophy through the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam and the discussion of philosophy with people who are interested. Through discussion, one can create an interest and understanding of the Pancharatra and Bhagavat systems. Sarvapadiva nirmuktam tapratmena nirmalam hrishikena hrishikesha sevaram bhaktir uchite. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service under the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. This verse, quoted from the Narada Pancharatra, is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Just as the celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean, so when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me. I reside in the hearts of all. This verse and the following three verses are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29, 11 through 14. They were spoken by Lord Krishna in the form of Kapila Dev. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya hudaritam ahaitukki avyavahita yabhakti purushottame. Oh, the first one, Madgunishvat. These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service to Purushottam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Salokya sarshti samipya sarupyaikatvam apyuta dhyamanam na grananti vina matsevanam jana. My devotees do not accept salokya sarshti sarupya samipya or oneness with me, even if I offer these liberations in preference to serving me. Bhakti Yoga, as described above, is the ultimate goal of life. By rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one transcends the modes of material nature and attains the spiritual position on the platform of direct devotional service. If one is infected with the desire for material enjoyment or material liberation, he cannot rise to the platform of pure loving service unto the Lord, even though he may superficially render devotional service according to the routine regulative principles. Purport: Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that if one maintains within his heart the desire to enjoy the result of good work, or being embarrassed by the material world, the desire to get out of material entanglement, one will never be able to attain the transcendental mellows of devotional service. In other words, one must not desire material profit when rendering devotional service. Even if one follows all the 64 regulative principles, he cannot attain pure devotional service with a contaminated heart. The material desire to enjoy the material world and the desire to become liberated from material bondage are considered to be two witches, and they haunt one like ghosts. As long as these witches remain within the heart, how can one feel transcendental bliss? As long as these two witches remain in the heart, there is no possibility of enjoying the transcendental bliss of devotional service. That's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. By regularly rendering devotional service, one gradually becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When that attachment is intensified, it becomes love of God. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.2 gives the following information about sadhana bhakti. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhanabhida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam hridi sadhyata. The process of devotional service beginning with chanting and hearing is called sadhana bhakti. This includes the regulative principles that are intended to awaken one to devotional service. Devotional service is always dormant in everyone's heart, and by the offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord, one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened. This awakening to Krishna consciousness is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. This can be divided into many different parts, including faith, association with devotees, initiation by the spiritual master, engagement in devotional service under the instructions of a spiritual master, steadiness in devotional service, and the awakening of a taste for devotional service. In this way, one can become attached to Krishna and his service. And when this attachment is intensified, it results in ecstatic love for Krishna. The word rati is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. When a tenderness of heart is manifested, there is rati, or attachment. But those who are interested in being liberated from material bondage will not manifest this tenderness. This attachment is not like material attachment. When one is free of material contamination, attachment for Krishna's service awakens and is called rati. In the material world, there is attachment for material enjoyment, but this is not rati. Transcendental rati can be awakened only on the spiritual platform. Ecstatic love for Krishna, Krishna prema, is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.41 as follows. Sambyam mashrinita swanto mama twashitayankita bhavasa eva sandratma budhai prema digadyate. When the heart is completely softened and devoid of all material desires, and when one's emotional feelings become very strong, one becomes very much attached to Krishna. Such purified emotion is known as pure love. The basic aspects of prema, when gradually increasing to different states, are affection, abhorrence, love, attachment, further attachment, ecstasy, and great ecstasy. Prema vridhi krame nam. Sneha man pranay rag anurag bhav mahabhav hai. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.2.84, sneha, affection, is described as follows. Man is just translated here as abhorrence. It's a kind of state of, well, when the devotee is angry at Krishna, like sulking and don't come here. That aspect of prema in which the melting of the heart for the lover is concentrated is called sneha, or affection. The symptom of such affection is that the lover cannot for a moment remain without the association of the beloved. A description of man can be found in Madhya Lila, chapter 2, verse 66. Similarly, a description of pranay is also there. As far as raga is concerned, will somebody turn, let's see, chapter 2, verse 66. The abhorrence thing caught my attention. Just happen to have a Chaitanya Charitamrita handy here. 2:66 says here, the symptoms of madness served as an impetus for remembering Krishna. The mood of ecstasy awoke love, disdain, deformation by words, pride, honor, and indirect prayer. Thus Sri Krishna was sometimes blasphemed and sometimes honored. The word unmada is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as extreme joy, misfortune, and bewilderment in the heart due to separation. Symptoms of unmada are laughing like a madman, dancing, singing, performing ineffectual activities, talking nonsense, running, shouting, and sometimes working in contradictory ways. The word pranay is explained thus: when there is a possibility of receiving direct honor, but it is avoided, that love is called pranay. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Ujjvala Nilamani explains the word man thus: when the lover feels novel sweetness by exchanging hearty words, but wishes to hide his feelings by crooked means, man is experienced. What is the etymology of abhorrence? What is the etymology of abhorrence or abhor? To shrink back, recoil, shudder at. Ab means away or off. Horare, to bristle, shiver, tremble, especially as from fear or disgust. So literally, abhorere meant to bristle or shudder away from something. It's a physical reaction word. Imagine hair standing on end or the body shrinking back in instinctive rejection. To regard with horror or detest intensely. Bristle. Hair stand on end. Horror. Where are we? Any idea? One sentence. Pardon me? That aspect of prema in which the melting of the heart for the lover is concentrated is called sneha or affection. I said that. That stage at which affection for the beloved converts unhappiness into happiness is called raga, attachment. When one has such attachment for Krishna, he can give up his own life to satisfy his beloved Krishna. Anurag Bhava and Mahabhava are described in the 6th chapter of the Madhya Lila, verse 13. The purport to that verse explains Adi Rudha Mahabhava. 179. The gradual development of prema may be compared to different states of sugar. First there is the seed of the sugar cane, then sugar cane, and then the juice extracted from the cane. When this juice is boiled, it forms a liquid molasses, then solid molasses, then sugar, candy, rock candy, and finally lozenges. All these stages combined are called sthayi bhava, or continuous love of Godhead in devotional service. In addition to these stages, there are vibhava and anubhava. Purport: attachment for Krishna never wanes. It increases more and more as one attains different stages. All the stages together are called sthayi bhava, or continuous existence of ecstasy. The 9 forms of devotional service are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Arjanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. When continuous love of God it is mixed with the processes of devotional service, it is called Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, and Vyabhichari. The devotee thus enjoys a variety of transcendental bliss. In his Amrita Prabhaha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that Anubhava can be divided into 13 categories. 1. Dancing. 2. Rolling on the ground. 3. Singing. 4. Yelling. 5. Jumping. 6. Making loud noises. 7. Yawning. 8. Heavy breathing. 9. Not caring for public opinion. 10. Discharging saliva. 11. Roaring laughter. 12. Unsteadiness. And 13. Hiccuping. These are the symptoms of Anubhava. Thus, the transcendental mellows are explained in different stages. Similarly, there are many other forms of expression that have been analytically studied by the Goswamis. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami gives each and every symptom a particular name. When the higher standard of ecstatic love is mixed with the symptoms of Sattvika and Vyabhichari, the devotee relishes the transcendental bliss of loving Krishna in a variety of nectarian tastes. These tastes are like a combination of yogurt, sugar candy, ghee, black pepper, and camphor, and are as palatable as sweet nectar. According to the devotee, attachment falls within the 5 categories of Shantarati, Dasyarati, Sakyarati, Vatsalyarati, and Madhuryarati. These 5 categories arise from devotees' different attachments to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The transcendental mellows derived from devotional service are also of 5 varieties. Shantarati is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. When one is completely free from all doubts and material attachments, he attains the neutral position called Shanta. The Shantarati realization of Krishna is the neutral stage between the conception of impersonalism and personalism. This means that one is not very strongly attached to the personal feature of the Lord. An appreciation of the greatness of the Lord is called Shantarati. This is attachment not to the personal feature, but to the impersonal feature. Generally, one in this stage is attached to the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. On the strength of this statement from the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that in Shantaras, a devotee sees the Lord's representation everywhere. Dasyarati is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu thus. When the Supreme Lord in his localized aspect is appreciated and a great devotee understands his subordinate position, not only does he surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but due to his subordinate position, he wishes to render some service and thus become favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee in Shantarati is not very much willing to render service to the Lord, but a devotee in Dasyarati voluntarily wants to render service. Due to this attitude, the devotee in Dasyarati realizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead more fully than a devotee in Shantarati. He considers the Lord to be a worshipable object, and this means that his attachment for the Lord increases. Thus, Dasyarati is characterized as Bhakti Parishanubhava Virakti Anyatracha. In other words, on the Dasyarati platform, a devotee is attached to rendering service to the Lord and is detached from material activities. Shantarati is neither material nor spiritual, but Dasyarati is actually on the spiritual platform. There is no attachment for material things on the spiritual platform. Viraktir anyatracha. A devotee in Dasyarati has no attachment for anything but Krishna service. Sakyarati is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. According to the opinion of advanced devotees and learned scholars, a devotee in Sakyarati feels equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is a relationship in friendship. Due to having a friendly relationship with the Lord, not only is one free from material attachment, but one believes in equal dealings with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Sakyarati. The Sakyarati devotee is so advanced that he treats the Lord on an equal level and even exchanges joking words with him. Although one is never equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Sakyarati devotee feels equal to the Lord. And he does not feel guilty because of this. Usually it is offensive to consider oneself equal to the Lord. The Mayavadis, for example, consider themselves equal to the Lord, but such feelings entail bereavement because they are material. Sakyarati, however, is a feeling experienced in the mind of a pure devotee, and he is eternally related with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that feeling. Vatsalyarati is described as follows in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When a living entity is situated on the platform of Vatsalyarati, he thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his childhood feature. In this feature, the Lord has to be protected by the devotee And at this time, the devotee takes the position of being worshipped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These feelings of parental love are called Vatsalya Rati. When the devotee is situated on this platform, he wants to maintain the Lord like a son, and he desires all good fortune for the Lord. He offers blessings to the Lord by touching his feet and head. Madhurya Rati, or attachment in conjugal love, is described as follows. Madhurya Rati, the conjugal relationship experienced between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the young damsels of Rajabhumi, continuously exists in 8 kinds of remembrances. This intimate relationship brought about by conjugal love produces movements of the eyebrows, glancing, sweet words, and exchanges of joking words. Shanta Dasya Sakya Vatsalya Madhurya Ras Nam Krishna Bhakti Rasa Madhya E Pancha Pradhan. The chief transcendental mellows experienced with the Supreme Personality of Godhead are 5. Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Besides the 5 direct mellows, there are 7 indirect mellows known as laughter, wonder, chivalry, compassion, anger, disaster, and fear. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In addition to the 5 direct mellows, there are 7 indirect mellows known as laughter, wonder, chivalry, compassion, anger, disaster, and fear. Shanta Bhakti Ras is described as follows in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When Shanta Rati, neutral attraction, exists continuously and is mixed with ecstatic emotion, and when the devotee relishes that neutral position, it is called Shanta Bhakti Ras. Shanta Bhakti Ras devotees generally relish the impersonal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since their taste of transcendental bliss is incomplete, it is called aghana, or not concentrated. A comparison is made between ordinary milk and concentrated milk. When the same devotee goes beyond the impersonal and takes the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form as Sakchidananda Vigraha, his transcendental blissful body, complete in knowledge and eternity, the taste is called concentrated, ghana, transcendental bliss. Sometimes the devotees in Shantaras relish transcendental bliss after meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but this is not comparable to the transcendental bliss relished by the devotees situated in Dasya Ras, the transcendental mellow in which one renders service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dasya Ras, or Dasya Bhakti Ras, is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. When according to his desires the living entity develops love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this beginning stage of love is called Dasya Bhakti Ras. Dasya Bhakti Ras is divided into 2 categories called Sambrahma Dasya and Gaurava Dasya. In Sambrahma Dasya, the devotee renders respectful service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in the more advanced Gaurava Dasya, his service takes the form of giving protection to the Lord. Sakya Bhakti Ras is described as follows in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. According to one's original consciousness, ecstatic emotions may be exhibited as continuously existing in fraternity. When this stage of Krishna consciousness matures, when this stage of Krishna consciousness is mature, it is called Preyo Ras, or Sakya Bhakti Ras. Vatsalya Bhakti Ras is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. When eternally existing love of Godhead transforms into parental love and is mixed with corresponding emotions, that stage of spiritual existence is described by learned devotees as Vatsalya Bhakti Ras. Madhurya Bhakti Ras is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If in accordance with one's own nature, development in Krishna consciousness, one's attraction leans towards conjugal love within the heart, that is called attachment in conjugal love, or Madhurya Ras. Similarly, Hasya, Adbhuta, Vira, Karuna, Rodra, Bhaya and Bibhatsa. The 7 indirect mellows are explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The Hasya Bhakti Ras, laughing devotion, is explained as follows. When through devotional service a laughing attachment to Krishna is developed, it is called Hasya Bhakti Ras by learned scholars. Similarly, Adbhuta Ras is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When one's general attachment is fixed in wonder, it is called Adbhuta Bhakti Ras. Vira Bhakti Ras is described as follows. When attachment to Krishna mixes with the bellicose tendency, the charitable tendency, or the merciful tendency in the heart of the devotee, such devotion is called Vira Bhakti Ras. Where does the word bellicose come from? Latin origin, bellicosus, warlike, fond of fighting, aggressive. Bellum, war. Osis, full of. So literally, bellicosus means full of war, given to fighting. Old Latin, duellum, which meant duel or combat between two. So bellum is literally a duel or a fight. It got changed over time from delum to billum. Bellum means a duel or a fight, and bellicose means having this spirit of battle within. Hostile, aggressive in attitude or temperament. Belligerent. When attachment to Krishna mixes with the bellicose tendency, the charitable tendency or the merciful tendency in the heart of the devotee, such devotion is called Vira Bhakti Ras. Karuna Bhakti Ras is described as follows. When one's devotional attitude and attachment for Krishna is mixed with lamentation, it is called Karuna Bhakti Ras. Similarly, Raudra Bhakti Ras is described as follows. When devotion is mixed with anger in the heart of the devotee, the taste is called Raudra Bhakti Ras. Bhayanaka Bhakti Ras is described as follows. When the devotee is mixed with fear, it is called Bhayanaka Bhakti Ras. Bibhatsa Bhakti Ras is described as follows. When one's attachment for Krishna develops in an abominable way, and the devotee enjoys it, that is called Bibhatsa Bhakti Ras. In conclusion, when a pure devotee is situated in any of the 5 principal mellows, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Mathura, and that mellow is mixed with one or more of the 7 indirect bhakti rasas, Hasya, Adbhuta, Vira, Karuna, Raudra, Bhayanaka, or Bibhatsa, the indirect mellows become prominent. The 5 direct transcendental mellows of devotional service are permanently situated in the heart of the devotee, whereas the 7 indirect emotions appear suddenly under certain conditions and appear more powerful. Everyone good? Better than good. Examples of Shanta Bhaktas are the 9 Yogendras and the 4 Kumaras. Examples of devotees in Dasya Bhakti are innumerable, for such devotees exist everywhere. The 9 Yogendras are Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabhuda, Pipalayana, Abhirhotra, Dravida, Drumala, Chamasa, and Karabhajana. The 4 Kumaras are Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanat Kumara, and Sanatana. The servant devotees in Gokula are Raktak, Chitrak, Patrak, and so on. In Dwarka there are servants like Daruka, and in the Lord's pastimes in the material world, there are servants like Hanuman. In Vrindavan, examples of devotees in fraternity are Sri Dama and Sudama. In Dwarka, the Lord's friends are Bhima and Arjuna. In Vrindavan, the devotees in parental love are Mother Jashoda and Father Nanda Maharaj, and in Dwarka, the Lord's parents are Vasudeva and Devaki. There are also other superior persons who are devotees in parental love. The chief devotees in conjugal love are the gopis of Vrindavan, the queens in Dwarka, and the goddesses of fortune in Vaikuntha Loka. These devotees are innumerable. Attachment for Krishna is divided into two categories. One is attachment with awe and reverence, and the other is a pure attachment without reverence. Pure attachment without reverence is found in Gokula Vrindavan. Attachment in Vraj, what am I doing? Attachment in which awe and reverence are prominent is found in the two cities, Mathura and Dwarka, and in Vaikuntha. When opulence is very prominent, love of God is somewhat crippled. According to Kevala devotion, however, even though the devotee sees the unlimited potency of Krishna, he considers himself equal to him. On the transcendental platform of neutrality and service, sometimes the opulence of the Lord is prominent. But in the transcendental mellows of fraternal, paternal, and conjugal love, the opulence is minimized. When Krishna offers prayers at the lotus feet of his mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, they both felt awe, reverence, and fear due to knowledge of his opulences. When Devaki and Vasudeva understood that their two sons, Krishna and Balaram, who had paid obeisances to them, were the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they became fearful and did not embrace them. This verse, quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:44-51, describes what happened just after the killing of Kamsa by Krishna and Balaram. Vasudeva and Devaki saw their son kill the powerful demon Kamsa, and after this they were immediately released from their shackles. Balaram and Krishna then offered respects to Devaki and Vasudeva. Both the father and the mother wanted to embrace their sons, but they understood that Krishna and Balaram were the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they therefore hesitated to embrace them. Their parental love for Krishna and Balaram was therefore hampered and decreased by awe and reverence. When Krishna manifested his universal form, Arjuna became reverent and fearful, and he begged forgiveness for his past impotence toward Krishna as a friend. Thinking of you, as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend. Not knowing your glories, please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone, and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all these offenses, those offenses. This is a quotation from the Bhagavad Gita 11.41-42. In this verse, Arjuna is addressing Krishna, who is exhibiting his universal form on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Although Krishna was joking with Queen Rukmini, she was thinking that he was going to give up her company, and she was therefore shocked. I'll take a few reflections and questions. Mahendra Prabhu, and then Eka Chakapran, and then we have the Outside People's Party, OPP.
In one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada said that one cannot, if one has material desires, will never be able to attain pure devotional service. I was just wondering, because you will have material desires until you come to the stage of pure devotional service. So, how is that explained in such a way that if you keep material desires, you will not be able to attain that level?
Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantaksto hibadroni vidunoti sritata. Someone sincere and continues in the process, then Krishna is the vidunoti principle, he sorts them all out. Right? Because you get verses like Satyam Dishati Artito Mrinam Livartato Yad Puna Artito Yata Swayam Vidate Bhajatam Anichitam Icha Pidanam Nijapada Palavam. In this verse, I think it's 5th canto, he says that one may approach Krishna for devotional service, but then maintain material desires, and then may ask Krishna for material benedictions. And Krishna says, okay, you can have them, but he gives them to you in such a way that you don't want them anymore. So, ichapidanam nijapadapallavam, he covers the material desires and he gives them instead his own lotus feet. And it's paraphrased in this Chaitanya Charitamrita where Kaviraj Goswami, right, he says, Krishna says, okay, he may be a fool, but I'm not a fool. I'm offering him the sweetest nectar, but he's choosing to take poison. So here's what I'm going to do for you, little fella. I'm going to give you what you want, but you're not going to want it anymore, and you're going to take shelter of my lotus feet. Special mercy. So for the rigid practitioner, success is guaranteed. If one continues, despite the obstacles presented by material desires, and Krishna, with our efforts, Krishna will help us remove those material desires.
Yeah. Actually, the context was also related to those who desire liberation, and that seems to be as a final goal. They do devotional service, but they want to get out of it either material enjoyment or moksha. In that sense, they will never reach pure devotion.
Unless they associate with pure devotees, which is to
purify that.
Yeah. The karmis, like Prachinda Barishat, come in contact with, who do you come in contact with? Narada. And then, that's the pivotal point. Meet a pure devotee. Yeah, there's a story behind it. Thank you, Mahendra. Ekachakra Pran. And then the outside people's party. They're just...
I was just comparing the reading sessions to going on parikrama, and just as if at first it might be very hard on the legs and the feet, but you get stronger over time, I'm noticing over the course of these readings, it's like mental weightlifting, and it's getting easier to stay focused and to process all of this information. And even knowing that sometimes some of these things go over my head and I know that it's still acting even if I don't understand it, just like how we're getting benefit no matter what when we're going around Govardhan Hill. And then I was remembering a purport from earlier in the book where Prabhupada said, even if you're illiterate, you don't understand any of this, you can become liberated just by the simple process of chanting, dancing, and feasting. So I take shelter in that as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a way in which one has to cultivate hearing, and after some time one develops not just a penchant but also a pleasure in hearing more and more. Certainly there's a cumulative effect as well.
It's helping me see how you've developed this over your life and how strong you are at reading. And
I'll take that as a benediction that someday I may resemble something like that statement. Let's see from the exalted so-called outside people's party, who are actually they're insiders from another point of view.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just trying to understand something. We heard a lot of quotations from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and as I understand, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita at Radha Kund. Is that correct? And Rupa Goswami apparently wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu at Ter Kadamba. We're hearing these things, and it was written over quite some time, not all in one go. And my mind was just wondering how the two relate. Did Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami write the Chaitanya Charitamrita after Rupa Goswami wrote Bhakti Rasa? Or like how do those two connect? Because so many verses come up in both texts.
Well, you may remember earlier there was a verse that came up, and there was a question arose in the purport about some people say, which came first. It seems that this verse was used before, and then it's being used here. Who started it? Where did it come from? And Prabhupada said that these verses were all popularly known and circulating. And you were nodding your head for the chronology. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was completed before. This is kind of a, you can trace the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to the various canonical books of the Goswamis. Each section you find the Ujjvala Nilamani and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu sort of recounted here. It's one of the reasons it's such a rich literature, is because it gives the essence of all the major teachings. But it was after. They're all in the same neighborhood. Yes. It all got posted in one WhatsApp group.
I would say the most bewildering verse which appears in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is Brahmananda Bharati quotes a verse from the Krishna Karnamrita right after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had discovered the Krishna Karnamrita. When Brahmananda Bharati meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he quotes this verse of Eta Vitir Parikarupasya, saying, I was saved from the path of Advaita Vedanta, and I've been engaged as a maidservant by this boy Gopal. So that appears right after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from South India, and he was quoting that. I was thinking of that today, that and my head was spinning a little bit, that he quoted that verse, but as Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying, these verses were known amongst the devotees.
It's nice to know what you're thinking as you're walking around in between these sessions. Anything else from the outside People's Party? Yeah. Who is that? Looks like Kana Gopal. He's not in here. It must be him.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I'm confused about Srila Prabhupada's statement in the purport to verse 183 and 184. He states how Shanta Rati is neither material nor spiritual. Could you please elaborate on that?
Well, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashochati Nakangshatik Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param is the standard for Shantaras. And the verse itself indicates being on the threshold of entering bhakti. So it says, it gives the symptoms of liberation from the material world. So you're no longer in the material world, because Brahma Bhuta, that's the spiritual, where it's, so I can't say that now. That's the platform above the material world. Brahma Bhuta, Prasanatma, you become happy. Nashochati Kankshati, and we're hankering lamentations. Sounds like you're not material anymore. Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu, you have no material conception. It's Vidya Vinaya Sambhane, you see all living beings equally. Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Mad Bhaktim Labate Param, from that position one gains bhakti. From that position, Mad Bhaktim Labate means to gain. So it means there you're on the threshold. You haven't entered bhakti proper yet, but you're there. You're not in the material world either. So you can't say that it's material, but you can't say it's spiritual, because spiritual, the real bhakti proper starts at Dasya Rahas. But it's contained in the process, or in the 5, because it's something introductory into the eternal process of devotional service. Anything else? That's Nanda Devi. No. No. She won't speak anymore. gone silent. Okay? Anything else for the outside people's party? Okay, Mukaravind for the close here.
Maharaj, I think in Guru Maharaj, in the between that verse quoted, like how from sadhana bhakti we can gradually go to the highest realm, and krite sadhya, the
Kriti
second
sadhya bhavat sadhya bhavasa saranaviva nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakrityam kriti what? Hridi sadhyata. That's the verse.
Yeah, that one, like how start from sadhana bhakti and then you can gradually goes upward. First you follow the rules and regulation and chant your rounds, and then other things will come.
Yeah, within sadhana bhakti, there's the potentiality of spontaneous devotional service. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya, bhava bhakti is there. Bhavasa sadhana vida. Within, that's the potentiality of sadhana bhakti. Is that by practicing there, then bhava bhakti emerges. Yeah.
And also one point regarding Prabhu was saying Ekchakapran Prabhu, also when you go parikrama, especially I think somewhere in the purport today was mentioning about how this 4 activity, eating, meeting, sleeping and defending, we can see that is engaged, like the different animals are all engaged in that activity, and we can get at least distaste that, okay, I don't want the same activity to be engaged when we go around the Govardhan.
Yeah. They're exactly the same as us, except for they can't get religion. Animals are people too. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll come back here at 17 and a half minutes after the hour. Gaur Premanande Haribol.